Hi, I'm Marco and welcome. Today I want to talk a little bit about my experience on the Salkantay Trek in Peru, which is a 5-day hike from the mountains surrounding Cusco to the ancient Inca city Machu Picchu. All in all, it's about 70 kilometers, but if you include the distance you walk on the final day where you actually visit Machu Picchu, it's more about like 90 kilometers. Before we did the trip, I was a little bit skeptical if I was like physically able to do it because it sounded very demanding and everything. But now, after doing the trip, I have to say that if you are like a normal guy or girl or whatever, and like your physical condition is like normal, then you can easily do it, I would say. I mean, there are parts where it's a little bit like exhausting and cold and everything, but you should be able to manage it if you're like a normal guy, just like me. But make sure that you acclimatize to the altitude, because the highest part is at 4,630 meters above sea level, I think. And yeah, we met some people with altitude sickness, and that's definitely something you want to avoid because it's no joke. One more thing, because before I start to talk about the actual trip, make sure that you book it in a local travel agency in Cusco, because it's way cheaper than doing like reserving something online. We met two guys from Germany who booked in advance in Germany, and they paid more than twice as much as we did. So save some money, go to different local travel agencies in Cusco, compare prices, and you should be fine. When we did it in July 2018, it was about like between 160 and 200 US dollars. Depends also on the agency and what exactly is included in the service. And make sure to talk about what is included, because we had some problems with our agency because they gave us some wrong information about the extra luggage we were allowed to bring with, and that was kind of annoying. So also talk about the sleeping bags, whether or not they are included, or if you can like borrow some from them or rent them, because you definitely need some good sleeping bags. Let's start with the first day. We got picked up at we met at the Plaza de Armas in Cusco, I think at 5 or 6 in the morning, I don't quite remember. After our group was complete, we were driven to a little town where we had breakfast. The first breakfast wasn't included, and there they also weighted our extra luggage. All of us in our group were allowed to bring 5 kilograms of extra luggage that got carried by the mules. So make sure not to bring too much stuff, because in the end you don't really need it anyway. So and then we drove to the actual starting point. There our guide introduced himself to the group and explained a little bit what we were going to do on this trip, and then we started walking. I think it took us 4 hours with breaks, something like that, to reach first camp, where we had lunch. And the first camp was at the bottom of the glacier Humantay and Salkantay. And we were able to visit the Humantay lake, Laguna Humantay, which is right next to the camp. I mean, you have to go uphill for maybe 40 minutes or something, but it's worth it. It was very beautiful, and the laguna is like, the water is like this teal bluish kind of color, and it looks amazing with the glacier behind it. So check it out, it's worth it. Then we had dinner and got to bed very early, because on the next day we had to get up at I think 4 or 4:30 in the morning, so we had to take some rest. Anyway, I went outside because during night, if you're lucky and you've got a clear sky, it's just amazing. The stars, and it was full moon at that time, and the glaciers were like glowing. It was amazing. Cool location. Then second day was by far the hardest day. When we got up, we had breakfast and then immediately started to walk. And make sure to wear like a thick jacket in the morning, because it's very cold and windy. But yeah, after like an hour or two, we started to like remove layer by layer because it was getting warmer and warmer. Even though you are at a quite an altitude, the UV radiation in the sun is very, very strong. So also make sure to bring some sunblock because yeah, you get burned easily. Especially me, I've got very sensitive skin, so I had to be very, very cautious. Also, what's helpful it was, well, for me at least, that we brought some snacks. For example, some coca leaves you can chew, or some coca candy. Almonds are great as well because like they contain natural aspirin, which is good for headaches, which is also a side effect of the altitude sickness, so that's a good snack. Yeah, we went up to the highest point at 4,600 something meters above sea level, and our guide held a little ritual and explained how the ancient, like how the Quechua people lived and how they used this trek to communicate and like trade goods and everything. This was very interesting. And after that, we started to go downhill for I think 6 or 7 hours, and this was very demanding on our knees, but it was still so worth it because the landscape changed within minutes. I would say it started from the glacier, which was very cold and windy, to like overgrown rocky landscapes like right out of a fairy tale or something, and then we got some clouds and we entered the cloud forest. I think after 4 hours of descending, we had like 30 degrees Celsius, so it got really, really warm, and then of course the mosquitoes started to bite us. So yeah, good thing to bring with you is some insect repellent. Yeah, then we had lunch and dinner. The camps are fine. They were really like big, and the stuff was like very friendly. We slept in tents underneath like a rooftop, not a rooftop, a roof, and then the tents underneath. And yeah, it was okay. I mean, you get what you pay for, but it's more than sufficient if you're doing a trek like that, I would say, at least. So yeah, then on the third and the fourth day, we were walking through the cloud forest. The scenery didn't really change that much at this point, but it was still beautiful. It was so cool, amazing to see a forest like that, especially for me. Like in Germany, we don't really have stuff like that, so it was really cool. On the fourth day, you come to a small town which is called Hydroelectrica. Well, it's not really a town, but like, yeah, a place where all the buses gather and also where the railway starts. So you can go to Machu Picchu, at least the last part, by train, or you can walk. And we walked for several hours along the railways, which maybe was the most boring part during the whole trek, but it was still beautiful because you were in the jungle and there were like rivers, and at one point we even got a glimpse to Machu Picchu from below, which was really cool. And yeah, at the end of the railway you come to a town which is called Aguascalientes. There we stayed in a hostel for the last night, which was a nice change because yeah, sleeping and walking, like sleeping in the tent and walking for so long really is exhausting at some point, and so it was really nice. Well, we had dinner, and our guides told us that we have to get up very, very early on the next day to be on time. So we got up at 3:30 and went to the entrance for the stairs which go up to Machu Picchu. This entrance opens at 5 a.m. But at 5 a.m. There are already like hundreds of people there, so make sure to be there in time if you want to be one of the first. Then after 1,500 steps in complete darkness, bring a flashlight, we finally reached the main entrance, where we met with our guide and all the other group members, and then the guided tour of Machu Picchu itself started. The guide went with us for 2 hours, and then we had free time to explore. However, the time is not enough, at least I think so, because there are two groups of people allowed in one day. First from 6 to 12 and then from 12 to 6 p.m. And yeah, you really are in a rush, and it was quite stressful, and this a little bit, it took away the magic, for me at least, of visiting Machu Picchu a little bit, because it was just so crowded and you are only allowed to walk in one direction, like there's a loop you have to follow, and yeah. But still, Machu Picchu is great. So, and that the trip itself is definitely worth doing. But this was a little bit annoying, especially as we had to go down to Hydroelectrica again, which again took us like 3 or 4 hours. No, like 2 or 3 hours to go there to catch our bus at 2 p.m. to go back to Cusco. It was cool. It really was enjoyable, but the masses of tourists are just not my thing. But still, great. And then when you arrive at Hydroelectrica, you go to your bus and you drive back for a few hours, and I think we were back at 7 or 8 p.m. In Cusco. Things you'll definitely need are like a windproof jacket, a flashlight, hiking boots, because it's very rocky. At some points the ground is frozen or muddy. If it rains, you make sure to, a raincoat or something. Also snacks, as I mentioned before. And what else? Let me see. I think that's it. Yeah, also there are up to 14 people in a group, I think, but most of the time you walk together with the other groups. At some points it's like a traffic jam, which is a little bit, it was fine, the people were cool, but don't think you would walk this empty path up to the glacier and like being there all alone and epic and everything. I mean, it's still epic, but there are lots of people. All in all, I would definitely recommend doing the Salkantay Trek, because it was definitely relatively cheap, just amazing landscapes, it was so beautiful. Okay, so if you're still watching, thank you very much that you bear with me. I know I talk a lot at some time, so yeah, thank you. I'll put up more videos like that, talking about the trips you can do. We did some trips in Colombia, Peru, Bolivia, and Chile. So yeah, maybe there's something you find interesting. So thank you very much, and see you in the next video. Bye.